Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We welcome you to today's edition of the Mumtiah free class. Today is class 11 inshallah, and I'm saying alhamdulillah that I am here today and you are also here for today's edition. So inshallah, today we'll be continuing our series of lectures. Yesterday we started on the Sawgu Ismul Faail min Thulathi, which is the formation of Ismul Faail from the three-lettered verbs. We talked about the formation of Ismul Faail, which is the noun. That when we have a three-letter verb, we are going to make a shape of fa'ala. It goes into the shape of fa'ilun to become an Ismul Faail. However, when we have that are three letters, which means the four letters, the rubai, the five letters, the khumasi, or the six letters, the sudasi, forming Ismul Fa'il from this verb is going to be different. So inshallah, from today, we are going to go into how to form an Ismul Fa'il from a lettered verb, a rubai, or the five-letter verb, the khumasi. So how do we form an Ismul Fa'il from either of these type of verbs? We do it in two very simple steps. Like any verb that you see, any fi'il that you see that has four letters, has five letters, has six letters, there is a single format, a single method, very simple method that you are going to use to turn it into Ismul Fa'il. And that is the methodology we want to learn today. So what is this methodology? Anytime you see a verb of four letters or five letters or six letters and you want to turn it into Ismul Fa'il, is that you first turn it into a mudari'. You turn it into what? The present tense verb, which is what? The Ismul Mudari'. And if you remember very well how we used to turn the the Fi'lul Madi into Fi'lul Mudari', we did that in our class. If you've not seen that before, you might want to revise it before you go into Ismul Fa'il. So the first step is to turn this Fi'lul Madi, which is the past tense verb, into Fi'lul Mudari'. How do we do that? We do that by adding an harful Mudari', which can be Hamza, Nun, Ya or Ta. But for illustration purposes in classes, we always use the Ya as our harful Mudari'. So we add the harful Mudari' before this verb. Then we turn the second to the last letter. So you look at the last letter of the verb. In this case, we have lam. Then you look at the letter before it. You count one letter before it and you give that letter a kasra. And automatically, you now have what? Your fi'lul mudari'. But this is not where we are going to. Today we are going to what? Ismul Fa'il. So once you've completed your transformation into fi'lul mudari', the present tense verb, you just need to perform just one action to turn it into Ismul Fa'il. And what do? You change that harful mudari', you change it into a mim that has dhamma. And once you do that, you automatically have your Ismul Fa'il. So let's go over it again. You pick up your fi'lul madi, you turn it into fi'lul mudari', and once you have your fi'lul mudari', you change the harful mudari', you change it into a mim. And your last letter is going to have what? Domatan. As we explained yesterday, that nouns in their natural state, the ismu in Arabiya in their natural state, they usually have what? A domatan at the end, which is what? The rafu'. So automatically, what do? A reminder, we take what? The fi'lul madi. In this case, we have what? Fa'ala. So we turn it into fi'lul mudari' and it becomes what? Yufa'ilu. So how do we turn it into Ismul Fa'il? remove this harf al-mudari and simply replace it with what? A mim with dhamma, and we automatically have an Ismul Faail Mufa'il. So let's take an example. We have allama, which means that what? He taught. The past tense verb is what? Allama, he taught. When we turn it into mudari, it becomes what? Yu'allimu, he is teaching. Then we change that mim and we remove that harf al-mudari and we replace it with a mim, and it becomes what? Mu'allimun, the teacher. So, and that is why we always call our teacher as what? Mu'allim, because what? He is performing the action of teaching. So similarly, this same method will apply to all of these awzan here, all of these different shapes of fi'l al-madi. So let's take the next one. Af'ala is a fi'l al-madi. Then when we turn it into mudari, what does it become? It becomes yuf'ilu, as we have earlier learned. We change that and we replace it with a mim that has dhamma, and it becomes what? Muf'ilun. Let's take an example. We have a fi'l al-madi here, which is what? Aslama, is submitted. When we turn it into fi'l al-mudari, it becomes what? Yuslimu, he is submitting, or he submits. So by the time we remove this harf al-mudari and replace it with a mim dhamma, it becomes what? Muslim, a person that submits. And that is why we are all Muslims, because what? We submit. Fa'ala is what? So the next one is fa'ala. In fi'l al-mudari, it becomes what? Yufa'ilu. And when we want to turn it into Ismul Faail, what do? Remove the harf al-mudari, replace it with a mim that has dhamma, and it becomes an Ismul Fa'il, which is what? Mufa'ilun. An example under here is what? Jahada, he did jihad. Yujahidu, he is doing jihad. Mujahid is a person that what? A person that is doing jihad, a person that does jihad. Fa'ilala is the next shape. What do? We turn it into our harful fi'l mudari. It becomes what? Yufa'ililu. And then we remove the harf, we replace it with a mim that has dhamma, and it becomes what? Yufa'ililu. So an example is what? Handasa, he engineered. Yuhandisu, he is engineering something, he is designing something. Muhandisu, a person that designs, which is what? An engineer. So you hear that's what? An occupation of a person, of engineer. In Arabia we call it muhandisun. This is where it comes from. So as we have applied this simple rule to all of this fi'l al-madi under ruba'i, you can simply apply that same rule to what? The khumasi. And that is what we are going to do here. So we are going to take the khumasi, the 5-lettered verbs, and we are going to turn them all into Ismul Fa'il in 2 simple steps. Step 1, turn it into fi'l al-mudari. Step 2, remove the harf al-mudari and replace it with a mim dhamma. We have what? Infa'ala. When we turn it into mudari, it becomes what? Yanfa'ilu. When we want to turn it into Ismul Fa'il, we remove the ya and replace it with mim dhamma, which is what? Munfa'ilu. So let's take an example. Infasola, it broke off, or it got separated. In fi'l al-mudari, it becomes what? Yanfasilu, it is separating. Then when it becomes Ismul Fa'il, it becomes what? Munfasilun, something that breaks off. So that is why when we learn tajweed, we hear that what? Madul Jaiz al-Munfasil, a madul that has broken off. So another example here, the next wazn is what? Ifta'ala. In fi'l al-mudari, it becomes what? Yafta'ilu. Then when we want to turn it to Ismul Fa'il, we remove this harf al-mudari, replace it with a mim dhamma, and it becomes Mufta'ilu. So we are going to perform the same thing here. I'takafa, he did i'tikaf, he performed the i'tikaf. Ya'takifu, he is performing i'tikaf. So a person that performs the i'tikaf is what? A mu'takif. The next, if Allah, this is another waznu, and we are going to apply the same rule to it to become Ismul Fa'il. What do? if Allah. If you remember very well during our Mudari, we taught us that if Allah, because there are two lambs here, lamb having shadda. So it's the same thing. So we can simply say that what it is if Allah. So that is why when we turn it to Mudari, this doesn't take kasra. Why? Because the first lamb inside here is the one that's supposed to take the kasra. So we have what? That is why we have yaf'alu here. Then when it becomes Ismul Faail, it becomes what? Muf'alun. That's from the same muf'alilun. So if you check inside your notes, you will see the breakdown there. So from muf'alilun, it becomes what? Muf'alun. Because those two lambs have been joined together with shadda. So an example here is what? Iswadda. So this iswadda, it means that what? It's turned black. Yes, what do? It is turning black, or it turns black. Then when it becomes Ismul Faail, is what? Muswaddun, something that has turned black. Now don't think that the second to the last letter here is taking fatha. It is not. The second to the last letter is the first dal that is inside this shadda. And that is why we have what? Muswaddun and not muswidun. Because waw is not the second to the last letter here. So now the khumasi ta'i, which is the khumasi that starts with ta, they are also going to follow exactly the same rule. How? Tafa'ala. When it becomes mudari, it is what? Yatafa'ilu. Yatafa'alu. However, when it becomes Ismul Fa'il, it becomes what? Mutafa'ilun. If you can remember right, all our other Ismul Fa'il, they always have what? A kasra in the second to the last letter. So the same thing, in this case, the khumasi ta'i is not an exception. It is also going to take a kasra in the second to the last letter. And that is why we have mutafa'ilun. So even though the mudari is yatafa'alu, when it becomes Ismul Fa'il, it goes into yatafa'ilu. The second to the last letter will always take kasra in any Ismul Fa'il that is ruba'i or khumasi or sudasi. And so even when it is khumasi ta'i, the Ismul Fa'il is going to take what? Kasra. The second to the last letter is going to have kasra. So let's have an example. Ta'allama. He learned. Yata'allamu. He is learning or he learns. So when we want to turn it into Ismul Fa'il, we do exactly the same thing. We remove the harful mudari'. We replace it with what? We replace it with a mim that has dhamma. And remember that the second to the last letter is going to have a kasra. So it is going to be what? Muta'allimun, a learner, a person that is learning. So we also have here tafa'ala, which is the second one of the khumasi ta'i. And when it becomes mudari', we are going to have yatafa'alu. And when we want to turn it into Ismul Fa'il, we remove this harful mudari', the same thing we've been doing since, and we have what? A mim dhamma. And we are going to have what? Mutafa'ilu as our Ismul Fa'il. So let's take an example. Tanafasa, he competed. He competed with other people. So tanafasa, he competed. In mudari state, it becomes what? Yatanafasu, he is competing. So remember, when we want to turn it to Ismul Fa'il, remove the harful mudari', replace it with a mim dhamma, and we have what? Mutanafisun. Because in Ismul Fa'il, the second to the last letter will always take kasra. So mutanafisun, a competitor. So, and that is that about Ismul Fa'il for the ruba'i and the khumasi. The final waznu is not written here, but you can see it in your notes. We have what? Tafa'ilala. When it turns to mudari, it becomes what? Yatafa'alalu. When we turn it to Ismul Fa'il, we remove the harful mudari' and the second to the and replace it with a mim dhamma. And the second to the last letter is always going to take kasra. So we have what? Mutafa'alilu. So an example there is what? Tazalzala. It vibrated, it shook violently. Yatazalzalu. It is shaking violently. Mutazalzil. Something that is shaking violently. So those are the examples we have for us under the ruba'i and the khumasi. So I believe by now we understand how to turn any fi'l. If you see any fi'l anywhere, we can always turn it into Ismul Faail, whether it is khumasi or ruba'i. In 2 simple steps, we turn the fi'l al-madi into mudari', then we clean the harful mudari' and turn it into mim dumma, and we now have our Ismul Fa'il. So I hope you understand that. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it a beneficial knowledge for me and you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.